Hi, fun recap here. Today, I'd be explaining an interesting South African movie titled African American. How fun watching! The movie begins with a scene where we see a South African lady going through a traditional marriage process. She wasn't too happy during the ceremony but complied because her family wanted her to. Her best friend and also colleague from work sat with her throughout the whole process, and we later see her mom and other family members advising her after the ceremony. She answers a phone call and leaves for her office immediately, which surprises everyone. Her friend follows her to the office and asks her why she will leave her wedding to attend to a work which she can do later, or even have her do if needed. And she tells her she wasn't really interested in the whole marriage thing but was just doing it because she had to. In the next scene, we see her in a car with her husband. She then had memories of her father when she was younger and how he used to take her around the city when they lived in the States. She tells her husband this and how she wished she could live her dream of becoming an actress in the States instead of getting stuck in South Africa, and her husband encourages her that she made the right decision marrying him because he was going to be by her side all the time. He promised her that. After which they walked back to the wedding grounds together while her friend watched from afar. That night, she refused to make out with her husband no matter how hard he tried because she thought a traditional marriage wasn't legal, and so she wasn't really married to him, which upset him and he goes to bed. The next morning at work, some of her colleagues tried congratulating her and apologizing for not being able to attend her wedding, but she tells them she wasn't really married, that it wasn't any serious ceremony, and so they didn't have to worry because it was no big deal. Her husband picked her up from work that day, and when they got home, they watched some movies together. She then sent an old acceptance letter with a congratulations message on gaining admission into a musical school in the States. The sight of the letter and its context takes her memories back to her dream of wanting to becoming a superstar in the States. She later told her mom she wanted to go to the States and chase her dreams because she wasn't comfortable playing the role of her wife in a marriage she didn't want in the first place. Her mom then told her to stay back and focus on her marriage and her current life, but she insisted on leaving because she wasn't comfortable in the marriage. Meanwhile, her husband had been listening to their conversation all along, which made him feel rejected. That night, she tried convincing her husband to go to the States with her and showed her the letter, but he gets upset and tears the letter into pieces instead. The next morning, her colleague and friend from work finds out she had transferred a huge amount of money from the company's money into her personal account and calls her husband to inform him about it, asking for his wife's whereabouts because she was unreachable. Meanwhile, his wife had packed his belongings, left home and boarded a flight towards the United States. When she got to the States, she went to an hotel and paid for a 10-day stay in the hotel room. The receptionist asked her a few questions, which she answered, and after making payment, she went to her room to rest. When morning came, she started wandering about the city without knowing where to go or what to do. She later ends up at a hair salon where she met a woman who was also from South Africa. She was a hairstylist who had been working in the States for so many years. They had a conversation for a while and became friends. The hairstylist and her newfound friend then asked her how long she planned on staying in the States, and she said indefinitely. She also told her she was jobless and didn't really know her way around town, and the hairstylist advised her to get a part-time job online. When she got to her hotel that night, she searched for some part-time jobs online and applied for some. She goes to the place where the auditions will take place and meets a guy there, whom she makes inquiries about the auditions from him and goes home after that. She later starts her auditions and tries severally to impress the judge but never made it because she wasn't a citizen. Meanwhile, there was never peace at home ever since she left. Her mother was always going through attacks for her daughter's disappearance, even though it wasn't her fault and she knew nothing about it. One day after an audition, she had an encounter with the same guy she had met on her first day, and he tells her never to give up. On her last night at the hotel, she tells the receptionist she wanted to book 10 more days, but her card was rejected because it was freezed, so she couldn't make payment and thereby had to leave the hotel the next day. She later opens up to the guy she met at the auditions and they become friends. They took a walk and she tells him more about herself and why she was there. And he understands her and escorts her to a train station where she picks a train to a location where she was going to stay and work as a nanny. The woman welcomes her warmly and shows her her daughter, after which she introduces her to her husband as well. She started going out with a new guy who proposed to her and they started dating. The next day she tells him about her boss trying to rape her when she got back home the previous night, which gets him really upset. The next day her boss frames her for stealing because she refused to give in to her advances and her wife throws her out of their house. In the next scene, she tells her boyfriend how worse things were getting for her and how bad she needed a green card to be able to move on in the country. She then tells him that since he was a citizen, he would like them to marry for just a year so she could attain citizenship and get a green card. After that, they could go their separate ways. He hesitated at first but eventually gave in after much thought and decided to marry her. They went through all the legal processes in the next few weeks and got married legally, after which they moved into his home together. The place was small, but she was grateful she had a place to lay her head and was also thankful to her new husband for coming this extent with her. She started the auditions again using her husband's name as her last name, which finally got her the recognition she wanted as a citizen of the state. Her hard work was finally noticed and she made it to top 3 of the people who qualified to the next stage, while her husband watched her progress from afar. When she got home that night, she couldn't contain her excitement as her husband congratulated her. She even called home to inform her mom about her progress, but her mother just wanted her daughter back home. She also called her daughter's husband to inform her about her progress, not knowing he had been having an affair with her daughter's friend after she left the States. The lady expresses her love for him and tells him she has always wondered what he saw in her friend which made him marry her instead of her. But even when he was talking to his new side chick, he couldn't shake off memories of his wife and kept thinking about her. He later attains the green card she had always wanted, which made her very happy. She also visits the manager of her auditions to ask about her progress but gets disqualified instead. That night, her husband from South Africa calls her, and when the phone was ringing, her recent husband sees how she had saved the name and questions her about the identity of the person she has saved happy. She finally tells him the truth about being married before coming to the States, which gets him really upset. He felt used and started calling her a fraud who only used her to attain a green card. He couldn't control his anger and started hating her, because even though he agreed to marry her for citizenship, he fell in love with her at a point without knowing she was already married. The next morning, he prepares breakfast to apologize to her for hitting her the previous night, but she was upset to the extent that she wouldn't even listen. That night, she visited her friend at her salon, and while she told her how she got a black eye, she started reflecting on how bad her life had turned out after she relocated to the States. She was later talking to her new husband when her husband from South Africa appeared from nowhere. He had come to take his wife home after so many months, but after he saw the new guy, he asked who he was and he said he was her husband as well. He got disappointed after the realization and left without her. At the next audition, she told her coach she was resigning because she was going back to South Africa, and that was the last time he ever saw her. That night, she packed her belongings and bid her husband goodbye and thanked him for his help and support. She also handed him a divorce letter before leaving to spend the night in an hotel. The next day, she passed by her friend's shop to bid her goodbye before leaving to South Africa. When she got to her homeland, she went to her office first to return the money she had borrowed before leaving the country, after which she went to her mother's house. Even though her mom was upset with her, she was also happy that she has finally seen her daughter again after so many months and embraced her with a hug. She then went to her matrimonial home to apologize to her husband and beg for his forgiveness for everything, but her husband seemed unsure whether or not to forgive her. So she left after realizing that She wasn't too far from her house when she realized her husband had come after her, and they both sat in her car to talk things out. African America, the end. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos like this. See you on the next episode.